The market traded slightly lower today with the S&P 500 closing just below the 6,000 level. This is an area of resistance that we've seen a few times this month in November. We saw it here in the middle of the month multiple times as the S&P 500 ultimately rejected off of this level down to the 5850 level before finding some good footing and bouncing back. And here we are again, right at the largest gamma exposure concentration at the 6,000 level. And we saw a little bit of a rejection today, opening near the high and immediately selling off, just taking a little bit of a larger step back. It does appear that we are continuing to see gamma exposure growing at the 6050 and 6100 strikes. And so it appears those two levels are the next targets for market participants heading into the month of December. It's possible we could see a little bit of a rollover as more investors and traders do take profits, and that could scare some traders as what would look like would be forming would be a double top. But we would expect, based on the gamma exposure structure, that any dip would be short-lived and traders would come back in buying the dip and we would see new highs. The main level that we're watching for, though, is the 5850 level. This is a pretty large support area. It was previous resistance, as we've pointed out many times in the last couple of weeks, and now ever since the election it is serving as a major support. So even if we do come down, we're okay with the trading action anywhere above this 5850 zone. Next, let's head over and take a look at small caps by looking at the IWM. IWM was the one bright spot across the major indices today, up 0.25%. Again, overall, it was a quiet day today, not a big surprise. The day before the Thanksgiving holiday here in the US. So markets were pretty quiet this afternoon. But as far as small caps go, we have been keeping an eye on volume at these higher strikes. We see large amounts of volume, for example, coming in at the 250 strike today, over 50,000 contracts traded, significant volume at these higher strikes. Same thing at the 245 strike, and basically everything above 240, large volume coming in the options market today on small caps. We still have the largest gamma exposure concentration up here at the 250 strike. That has become very prominent over the last several days after we saw this big move up. So we're getting the consolidation that we expected here. And if we can just get a little bit more momentum building over the next several trading sessions, I expect we'll start feeling the gamma effects of this GEX at the 250 strike. So that is something to really keep your eye on here in the coming next couple of weeks. Let's just switch over here to a different view. This is our three largest positive GEX levels and our three largest negative GEX levels. And look at how important these levels have been over the last month during November. This 240 level, obviously the most important GEX level over the last month as traders battled it out in the middle of the month. And here we are again now, breaking above and tagging the next most important level at the 245 strike, rejected from there a few trading sessions ago and have now been consolidating. But we do expect another attempt at this level very soon, and 250 will be in the sights of market participants shortly thereafter. That's our base case scenario for small caps. For those of you who are contrarians, however, a breakdown below this 239 level, which is right below our 240 GEX zone, could see a significant pullback all the way down to the 230 or 229 strike. That's our first major negative GEX level that we're watching for. So that's an alternative scenario that we're just keeping in mind in the case things start to unravel in the broader markets overall. Next, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin up over 96,000 now. Look at how well this dealer cluster zone held. If you watched last night's video, we highlighted the selling pressure that kicked in right below this dealer cluster zone. We didn't quite make it to 100,000, where I think we're like $150 off, so almost there, but obviously rejected from that upper dealer cluster zone. And we were highlighting the likelihood of a bounce here as we were entering this lower dealer cluster zone with the large gamma exposure concentration up here at 100,000. If you missed that video, go back and just check it out real quick. But we're continuing to see volume coming in at that 100,000 strike in the options market. And of course, just the level 100,000 is a huge number that people have been projecting for this entire past year, really past couple of years, and here we are. And so it wouldn't be surprising to see multiple other attempts, even if it doesn't quite make it, multiple other attempts over the next several weeks to get up into this level. And let's just look a little bit higher up the options chain and see what it looks like. We do have gamma exposure growing here at the 110,000 strike as well. Obviously not as significant as the 100K strike, but something to keep your eye on. We've got some volume coming in today. Again, this is not huge volume, 1,500 contracts, but it is a $96,000 asset, so you have to keep that in mind as well. So we'll be watching both the gamma exposure level and the volume coming in here above 100,000 in the next several days, just to keep an eye on where things potentially could go for Bitcoin, or is this dealer cluster zone at 100,000 going to hold? While we're on the topic of crypto, let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum now trading above 3,600, big move today, and we've got large positive gamma exposure all the way up to the 4,000 strike, big volume coming in, over 30,000 contracts at the 4,000 strike. Ethereum looks to have broken out of its range that it was basically in the last several weeks, and now coming out to the upside. I think this is also bullish for Bitcoin overall. If we can get Ethereum really moving towards its next major round number at 4,000 with all the volume coming in and the large gamma exposure, it really looks bullish in the crypto market, at least for the next couple of weeks. After that, who knows? But I think market participants in the crypto markets are especially excited about what the Trump administration could potentially bring to crypto. So, remains to be seen, but there's a lot of enthusiasm, at least in the options market, that we're seeing for now. Next, let's take a look at Nvidia. A lot of people have been asking about Nvidia. Pretty steep drop from the 150 strike down to 135. 150 was a large resistance zone. Never could get above that level except for the day after its earnings, which it swiftly rejected. That still is a large gamma exposure concentration at the 150 strike. I think this was just a lot of profit taking, coming after the earnings report before year end. I'm sure there's a lot of managers out there reallocating assets out of Nvidia, out of mega caps, and into small and mid cap stocks. However, this has been a significant sell-off. It's been a 10% drop in just about a week, and this is starting to look interesting to us from a risk reward perspective. We're in the lower dealer cluster zone, and we saw a bounce today. So interesting that we're bouncing in this area. If we can see some consolidation, perhaps further upside above our zero gamma level, which is around 137 right now. Keep in mind, we still have large gamma exposure at 140 and at 150 up here. So there's some significant volume coming in at these levels. 140 strike today saw nearly 300,000 contracts traded. And the 150 strike, even though this looks so small here, that is over 150,000 contracts that were traded at the 150 strike. That's 10% higher than here, and we're still seeing that kind of volume in the options market at strike prices that are that far away. So that tells me that there is still a lot of interest at these higher levels, and that's going to be something to watch heading into year end. Again, especially if we can get any kind of momentum going above the zero gamma level. That's what we like to watch for. We like to see the structure shift to where price is trading above zero gamma, momentum starts kicking in, and that's where you really see gamma effects start to kick in. And so that's something we're going to be watching for. That takes time to happen. It's not going to happen in one day. So we'll be watching that Friday and into next week into December. Let's take a look at Meta. This is one that we have mentioned a number of times. We've traded this several times. The 600 strike, if you've been watching our videos for the last month, has been a huge focus for us. And if we just zoom out here, you can actually see how many times Meta tagged that 600 level. The last time was about a week and a half ago, before the big drop right down to our lower dealer cluster zone. We've really seemed to have found some support at this level around the 560 strike. We did see a little bit of softness today. That's not a surprise. And it does look like we are bouncing right off that zero gex level. The 600 strike, like I mentioned, is still a very important level, even if for a move into December 31st or into the January expiration. But as long as we hold this 560, 550 to 560 range as a base of support, it really looks like market participants are still interested in Meta back up to the 600 strike. So that is something that we really want to pay attention to. And we'll be watching for a sustained move above the 0 gamma level and see if we can get some momentum building here in the coming weeks. And if you guys want to access our gamma exposure dashboard and our option flow analytics, head on over to geeksoffinance.com. We are running a Black Friday special, code Black Friday at checkout. That's going to be $300 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. So you don't want to miss that. We've got a few spots left. So take advantage of that this week if you can. Our members also get free access to our Geek University course. It's a 5-hour option strategy, volatility, gamma exposure, and our overall trading methodology. You'll also get access to our community Discord. We've got several premium channels in there for members only. And we have a lot of really talented traders in there as members who are just sharing for free their trade ideas, their strategies, and it's a really great community. So I definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Thanks so much everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.